Olives in crisis. The world's olive crisis is hitting supply chains hard and fraud is rampant. First, it was the disease Xylella fastidiosa, which decimated olive groves across parts of Europe. Then came a drought in key growing areas of Europe. Production is down and crime is up. Olive oil is one of the most fraud-affected food products on earth, with reports dating back to the 1st century. The ancient historian Aelius Galenus described how merchants would dilute expensive olive oils with cheaper ingredients to increase their profits. A 5th century Roman cookbook describes how to make cheap Spanish oil resemble expensive Italian oil by adding minced herbs and roots. Since I began collecting food fraud stories in 2015, olive oil adulteration and misrepresentation have featured often. But in the past few months, the number of incidents has increased noticeably. And these days, it's not just oil, other olive products are also at risk of food fraud. I first started collecting information about threats to olive oil supplies in 2016, writing that olive growers were having trouble with pests and diseases, including Xylella fastidiosa, in Italy, Greece, and Spain. In 2016, experts were predicting price rises for olives and olive oils in Europe, the United Kingdom, and America because of risks to harvest from the disease. One area hit hard by the disease was the Italian region of Puglia, which used to produce 50% of Italy's olive oil. Xylella fastidiosa appeared in the region in 2013, and 21 million trees were lost to it within a few years. Less high-quality Italian olive oil meant more motivation for food fraud, and the criminals responded. In 2017, a survey of more than 300,000 litres of olive oil conducted over 2 years in Brazil found 64% of 279 samples were substandard, with some products containing 85% soybean oil. Since then, the number of food fraud incidents for olive oil appears to have grown, with a startlingly high number this year. Among the food fraud reports that I've seen and collected for the Trello-hosted Food Fraud Risk Information Database and for the Rotten Apple, this year's tally stands at more than triple the usual annual count. From 2015 to 2021, there were 0 to 4 reports of olive oil fraud in international media per year. In 2022, that number climbed to 6. This year, I've counted 15. And it's worth noting that this tally is indicative at best because it only captures incidents and survey results which are reported by mainstream media outlets or scientific journals, and also discovered by me and my software during my searches for food fraud intelligence. Olive oil fraud in 2023. In 2022, olive oil was predicted to become 25% more expensive due to droughts in the main olive growing areas of Europe. However, the predictions fell short and prices have risen by significantly more than 25%. Olives are becoming so expensive and scarce that criminals are chainsawing off fruit-laden branches of olive trees and even taking whole olive trees from orchards by night in Europe. Some growers are even microchipping their trees in response to the thefts. Last month, Bloomberg reported that European retail prices have doubled in the past year and that EU exports of olive oil are expected to be lower by 10%. In 2023, I've recorded a total of 15 incidents and survey results from countries including Spain, Canada, Italy, Greece, Morocco, Brazil, and Portugal. The fraud types included clandestine manufacture, marketing irregularities, theft of oil, theft of olives, labelling irregularities, blending with undeclared oils, and mislabeling of the grade of the oil. In October, I warned that due to the shortage of olives in Europe, non-European grown oils could be fraudulently misrepresented as European oils. Today's food fraud news contains warnings about Moroccan olive oils, which are now subject to export restrictions to protect domestic supplies after annual production dropped to less than half of 2021 levels following 2 years of drought in the country. On the other side of the world, Brazilian authorities are closing down clandestine manufacturing sites, while Spanish law enforcement agencies have undertaken 300 different operations in olive growing areas, stopping vehicles full of stolen fruit, raiding oil mills and arresting mill operators who are processing stolen fruit, and the Greek government is warning consumers to only buy their oil from reputable vendors. Takeaways for food professionals. If you or your business purchase olive oil, limit your risk of purchasing fraud-affected oil by purchasing from reputable vendors and authorised stockists. Avoid online stores, markets, street vendors, small independent outlets, and anonymous sellers, which are more likely to sell counterfeits and products from unauthorised or grey market sources. Purchasing premium brands, which are more likely to tightly control their supply chains. Considering sourcing oil from non-European growing areas, which may be less affected by scarcity and price increases. Paying attention to the taste and aroma of the oil and informing the vendor of any defects. In short, olive oil has been vulnerable to food fraud since the beginning of recorded history. Experts have been warning of impending supply problems and price rises for olive oil since 2016. Tree diseases have decimated harvests in many major olive-growing regions, and drought is also having a severe impact. Prices have increased significantly for both olives and olive oil. Fraud activities in olives and olive oil appear significantly more numerous in 2023 compared to past years. And there is a list of all my sources, as always, in the email and the post.